Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Debbie Pruitt, COO of GFK Consumer Experiences.
Hi. Welcome back, everyone. In addition to my role at GFK, I'm also a proud member of the ARF board, as well as its treasurer, so Gail keeps me busy. But I love the ARF and everything that we're doing to really transform. So it's great to see the turnout and the enthusiasm in the room, and as Joan Lewis promised us, this morning was really a powerhouse morning. The panels were fabulous, the papers were well curated, and even though we had a shortened break, it was great to have a little bit of networking, and as Gail always tells us, it was a good time to help find your tribe. So now it's my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce someone who really needs no introduction to this audience. Lori Hiltz is an integrated media pioneer and currently leads over 1,000 Havas Media employees in cross-functional teams across 8 offices as a role as CEO of Havas Media North America. Lori's also a fellow ARF board member, and I've recently discovered that we both share Michigan roots, although I'm sorry to say that due to my husband, we're on opposite sides of the great Michigan football rivalry. I'm by marriage a Wolverine, and she's by birth a Spartan. But we also both spent time in the U.S. automotive industry, and we learned last night at dinner that that strongly shaped both of our careers. Lori's keynote address is titled Landing Insights into Action, and after spending 2 hours with her last night at dinner, I can confirm that this is definitely a woman of action. After Lori's presentation, Mike Donahue, EVP of the 4As, and also an ARF board member, is going to join Lori on stage for some Q&A, and he promised me this morning that it's going to be outrageous. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Lori to the stage.
How about that Motown? Is this on? Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Hi. Okay. What is a media CEO doing up on the stage at an Advertising Research Foundation measurement symposium? I asked Gail the same question. What the hell would I do here, right? First, I had a matching suit. That's why I came, right? Look at all this. And secondly, the reason why I'm standing here is you get this incredible name tag, and they made me take it off. I paid $6,000 for that, so I wanted to wear it. But what I really want to talk about, where's Gail? Gail, okay, I can't pass this green cube, and it matches your top, so I got this, right? But when I became the Havas Media CEO about 18 months ago, one of the first individuals I met from a professional perspective was Gail. And Gail came to our old offices at 195 Broadway, one of the most beautiful lobbies in the world, but the interior of my office at that time was close to a garage sale. And I said to Gail, it's so nice to meet you, I know about you, I was trained and raised in research in the agency side in the early days. And Gail came to tell me that my then company, MPG, hadn't been a member of the ARF for many years. We were delinquent in dues. I was beyond embarrassed. And I said, give me a chance, right? And I spent an hour with you and Chris, and I became mesmerized with the purpose of the ARF. I am honored and thrilled to be working with you, Gail, and I'm honored and thrilled to be up here on the stage representing Havas Media. So let me back up about Gail's famous quote, an adage, right? Our industry, what I call a pontificator, right? And you talked about the fact that it's not just about data, it is about the people. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about the convergence and agility needed in our industry for us to continue to work together. Gail is an unbelievable leader. She has unbelievable insight, and her time developing Cheerios and Yoplait, let's be fair, two of the most fabulous morning brands in my portfolio. And I'm thrilled, Gail, so I wouldn't be here without you, so thank you. Speaking of being here, why am I here? Right, I do have some creds that allow me to step on the stage with some of the other professionals here in the room. As Debbie said, I was born and raised in the city of Detroit. Yes, the city of Detroit. And to be fair, I still love the city, but I saw opportunity and moved on. I've run several marathons. I've worked for all the holding companies. And the one unusual piece on the slide here I want you to take is the Pope app. Why am I talking about the Pope app? I was on a panel last week with Dave Morgan. Where's Dave? Dave's somewhere in the audience. But I talked about a personal app that influences my life. And you don't, Jew or Gentile, you can go on and understand just basic human skills necessary in the world, but really more applicable in our business. So I encourage you to log on and get the wisdom of the day. I'm a diehard Spartan, and last night our Detroit Tigers took a dive in Chicago, so I'm really, really upset about that. Now, my roots and my beginnings in research and media started back in the 80s with two classic individuals that are both very famous in our circles here. Bernie Guggenheim smoked a pipe in the office, right, and basically taught us by hand how to do reach and frequencies. And the most exciting day of my career with Bernie Guggenheim was when Lotus 123 was launched, right? It made my life so much easier. I used to go to MRI and Simmons trainings. I used to code by hand with a pencil that I held on a belt, right? That's how long ago I had the fundamentals and the fundamental understanding of what data and research does in our business. It's no different today, ladies and gentlemen, not at all. In fact, some of my Havas Media Analytic wizards, yes, they are wizards, and they are sitting in the audience today. When they come to talk to me, I have to have my dictionary app and a translator, because I don't know what the hell they're talking about today. But we are able then to take what they are talking about and translate it into meaningful insights to affect decisions, not just in media, but in marketing, and some of you that are in the high-tech side, right? Because the filter of success in our industry all has to come through people. And that's really what I want to talk about today. So I'm very thankful to Bernie. And then on the right side is Lou Schultz. He was a revolutionary character, and I want to emphasize the word character. I trained underneath him from a planning perspective and a client service perspective. So we took Bernie's wisdom and his analytical sexiness, translated with Lou Schultz, and then he'd shove all of us young people out into the world and to go work on client service business. I was born and raised in the Chevrolet business when they really made great cars back then and trucks. So it was really a privilege. But I want to go back a little bit to our Detroit roots, Debbie and I, our Detroit roots, right? Because without Henry Ford and Thomas Edison and kind of the whole ideation of what happened in thinking beyond and being convergent in how you work and how you think, at this time in the early 1900s, the electric battery was developed by Thomas Edison, right? But Henry Ford had a better idea with a gas-powered car. So he said, I'll run this way, you take your battery and let's go build Greenfield Village in Dearborn, Michigan, and that's where the original battery actually sits. What I love about this quote is that they were willing to admit things didn't work. And sometimes in our business, it's not so easy for us to do that, right? It's much easier to say, we'll try this and see. Like, I think, Gail, you had a quote one day, you said something about buy it, execute, and pray type of thing, right? Pray it works. You don't have the luxury of that anymore. Why? Because you have the power of data, you have the power of measurement, and that, how could I stand up here without an Ogilvy quote, right? What I love about this is this pretentious jargon. What the hell does agile mean to you in the ARF, right? Isn't that why I'm standing here, is to kind of entice you and to think and operate a little differently through the lens and the currency of data? Because the future of our business is reliant upon an organization like the ARF to be a platform for thinkers, for debates, for POVs. Good leaders have a point of view. Right or wrong, you have to have a point of view. And I believe at this day that convergent agility is the future of our business. So everybody has a word cloud, right? So I've got an Ogilvy quote. I've got a word cloud. I got a matching suit. I got a big name tag, right? Now what am I going to talk about is exactly what I said to Gail and Mike Donahue and the ARF staff. And they're super smart people with not a lot of patience of stupidity. So I had to think about something here. So I went back in time. And in 1974, the world was very different. Why do I pick on 1974? I'll get to that, right? So Barbara Walters, the Today Show, look at her. She looks the same age, right? It's all Botox. See the barcode? See the barcode? That was on a pack of Wrigley's gum. And that was revolutionary, chewing gum. right? And it's just an amazing, someone had a vision with data, right? Why do I have the airport in Paris? Because I'm owned and operated by a French holding company, and the world's a little different in France. I'm just giving you a clue, right? People magazine was the currency then of social data. Saddle-stitched, high-end paper magazine, and if you got invited to do something with People magazine, you were cool. Think about this. It was revolutionizing social dialogue, and they were back then building the data and building the currency, what is really today our whole platform of society. And then Good Times was the hot show back then. So I know some of you are relating, and some of you probably weren't born then, but just work with me here for a few minutes, okay? All right, so why 1974? Because in 1974, E.A. Edmonds, in his paper, A Process for the Development of Software for Non-Technical Uses as an Adaptive System, let me translate. The guy had a vision of how software development and the agility of being able to take the mindset and the data and apply it to business. Revolutionary in 1974. We were still smoking cigarettes, drinking booze, having sex in our offices, all that crazy stuff, right? We didn't have security badges, right? We didn't have receptionists. We didn't have what you would call data exchanges. We had insertion orders that went over a fax. We had a Burroughs word processor, right? So the world was kind of simplified then. So this was kind of out there. And if you go forward in time, right, in 2001, a group of forward-thinking software developers went out to Snowbird, Utah. Now, I can just imagine what was happening in Snowbird, Utah with all these guys. It wasn't locked in a room type of thing. But they went in to create a manifesto on agile software development. How many of you have read that? A couple methods here of agile and waterfall. Okay, there's one, genius, right? It exists, correct. And who are you? Well, Leslie, what do you do? Oh my God, she's a chief research officer at Nielsen Catalina. She's brilliant, right? So she reads this, right? So I'm validated. I'm validating my presentation through Nielsen. It's going to kill me. It's going to cost me money. I can see it coming already, right? Sorry. Somewhere out there is my CFO, right? And who every time we have to pay a Nielsen bill, I think about all the people I could have hired, right? And I'm going to go out on a limb, and Gail's here because I know that they're gigantic supporters of the ARF, the 4As, a ton of organizations, but I know they're working on a different currency for us, right? We talked about that this upfront season again, and I don't mean to divert from my software ideation here, but I do believe that Nielsen can help us change our trajectory of our business, right, from the bottom up. Because you guys hire really smart people and then confuse us with all your lingo and jargon, and then we get a bill, and it goes around again. Okay, now, what I did was that I took these 12 principles of the agile method in software development, quantitative base, and I moved it over to the qualitative base. And how does it apply to what I do as a CEO of a media company, right? I'm a challenger brand. I've got 4 other brands ahead of me, massive holding companies that I compete against. My view in the organization and in the world is very different. My view's up, right? I have nowhere to go but up. So I think there's some basic principles here that really are applicable to your day-to-day operations, whether you're planning media, buying media, negotiating media, buying a tech company. And probably the most important thing you're going to do is buy people. Because according to Gail, if you remember the quote from the beginning, right? It's all about the people. All that data, all those reams of data, right? It's all about how you translate and how you sell it in. So my first kind of approach to this, and one of the principles, right, is that it's moving fast to the market. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the sense of urgency now in our business. It's no longer about, like, let's wait and see and annualize planning cycles. It doesn't exist anymore. It's every day, and every day brings a different set of challenges, right? So you must move fast to market. Principle 2, right? As one of the famous quotes, right? The most effective way to cope with change is to help create it. That's what I've been doing with Havas Media for the last 18 months, is creating change. Making people feel uncomfortable to see me walk into a room. right? That means you're not functioning differently than how we should be to move the organization forward. I'm looking at a table of gentlemen sitting over there, and I use that word gentlemen, right? The investment on the analytics, research, and technology side in media companies and advertising agencies is essential to your survival. There needs to be more of them and less of me. More of them that are client-facing, less of me. So trust me when I talk about welcoming change, right? You must help create it. We fail. I've lost clients. I lost a big client this year after getting an outstanding performance appraisal and a giant-ass bonus. And I said, this doesn't make sense to me. And guess what? The way the world works right now is that things move too fast. Procurement entered into the relationship, and all the plans that we did over weeks and moments and days all went away because failing fast does happen, right? Hillary Clinton's in the news a lot, right? We're in the state of New York. Speculation she's going to run for presidency, and she coined the phrase, it takes a village. Well, I believe it. I live it every single day. And if you don't understand the relationship on how right now creative and content development and the curation of all of that plays into our role, you're dead in this industry. You're absolutely dead in this industry because there is a direct correlation between the messaging, the content, and what we would call the media. And it takes a village to do that. Notice I put the word procurement in there and the word researchers. Your brains and your data cost money. Don't ever undersell it, because that's what I need, right? That's one of my currencies, right? Trust is probably one of the biggest things when you are developing new ways to think and new ways to operate. You gotta let people take a chance. And it's okay if you fall down. Remember I talked about falling forward fast, right? And I believe opportunity, when given with trust, motivates human beings. I've got a lot of them sitting inside of Havas Media throughout North America. Co-location, talk to me. Don't text me, don't email me. I get thousands of emails, and some of you probably have emailed me and I haven't returned your email. I do within a calendar year, I promise. I'm very good about that, right? But there is a power of the dynamic of face-to-face conversation, and then overlay this, you know, the data ream on all this, and then the conversation, and you begin to build the trust that takes a village, that you get incredible results, okay? Be a show-off. There's so much good stuff happening in our industry right now. That's why I love the organizations of the 4As and literally what's happening in the ARF. Some really great things, right? Is that all I have left is 30 seconds? Is that the right time, Tilo? Is that California time? Yeah? No? Okay. Where was I? About bragging about what you do, right? Keep pushing forward. Again, I'm translating software thinkers into being applicable in our industry right now, right? You got to maintain a pace. You got to train for it, right? You got to give people time to go learn, to get experience, and that's why bringing Havas Media employees to organizations like this broadens their thinking, and it gets me a better product, right? Another principle, it's about the details. Be myopic, right? You don't like something working with someone in the industry, you don't like the data they're giving you, you don't believe the data they're giving you, you don't believe the cost of the data that they're giving you, right? You need to be into the details. It is all about the details, everything. I tested the toilet paper when we moved into our new space. Why? Clients, right? I wanted a certain brand of coffee in there. Why? Perception. Everything has to do with very, very, very small details. And you can ask the team at Havas Media. I care. I drive them crazy with the details. This is one of your mantras, Gail, every single day. What gets measured gets done. We're all accountable, but I think as an industry in the ARF, we're even more accountable at this time, right, of understanding the simplicity and the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. I have a list to do. To the left goes for miles. I won't live long enough to get the things done that I see for Havas Media and our industry. Excuse me, what's the tape for, Tilo? Okay. Okay, it's all about the team. Allowing people to self-organize, right? I think that's one of the real authentic things that Gail brought to the ARF, is allowing people to migrate to others within the industry and organize effective leadership teams and effective, I mean, you've got thousands of people, you have hundreds of interns, and all of that happens because at my very first slide that I put up there, it takes one person to change an organization. It takes teams to move an organization. So please understand about the power of the team, okay? And we talk about stuff. It happens. Sometimes I feel that technology is moving so fast, we're not moving fast enough to align with the technology, right? We have a client called LG, and understanding what they do in the space right now blows my mind when you go to meetings to understand the technology and the advancements, right? And at the end of the day, it is about being agile and convergent when understanding about stuff. Okay, so here I am talking a little bit about what convergent agility means. And the mantra for the last 18 months with Havas Media has been change faster. What does that mean to employees? You take thousands of employees and you say, you're sitting here under 2 separate holding companies, and I want you to move over here. I don't want you to move a client. I don't want you to lose a client. I don't want you to stop being happy. That's really, 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 really hard to do. Gail's doing it right now with the ARF and changing the relationships and changing the way that she and the organization dialogues in our industry. It's revolutionary if you think about it, because the cornerstone and the currency of all of us here is data and measurement, right? So long ago, convergence was really defined by, devices. If you think about this, someone was brilliant and they took a clock and a radio. I would think that's convergence, right? Even more brilliant, they took a toaster and an oven, right? Toaster oven. Someone said, well, Lori, what about the iPhone? I said, you just said it. It's a phone. It may watch videos, it may take pictures, it's still a phone, right? So the basics of this is that we used to think about this of like taking 2 ideas and merging them together for useful and purpose, right? But today, convergence is the new media. That's really what this is all about. And that it is defined by media and how we operate and how we talk and how we translate. And this slide, I'm sure you've all seen this 100 times. But again, the audience is the media. The owned, the shared, the earned, the paid. That is what convergence is really about. And the agility to move seamlessly through all of these platforms with media, with messaging, with data, with measurement. This is why the business right now has become so much more complicated for us inside of a media agency and inside of a creative agency. One of the things that I'm going to talk to Mike a little bit about is that we went on a limb. We took all of our creative and content, all of our production side, we moved it into the media world. I didn't move into the creative house. Creatives moved into the media house. What does that say about our industry? Is that because we're able to live and coexist in one culture, that data becomes the currency of convergent agility. I made that up, convergent agility, on the phone with Gail. I was like, it sounded super sexy. I'll write something about it. True, is why I'm standing here. But it is about data-driven insights. It's about data driving design and the way we speak and the way we move through relationships, whether it's clients, business, vendors, partners, right? That data drives activation. And that finally, the optimization, I love that word. I want to optimize some employees down the road, right? But you think about it, it's really what is the platform of how we are conversing right now in our industry. I'm going to end before it's time to bring out Mike. How many of you know Maxine Green? Anybody? Anybody go to Columbia University? Nobody. I'm in New York, right? Nobody went to Columbia? One person. Okay, the Teachers College, right? So Maxine Green was a visionary, and she was a teacher. She just passed away last week. And if you haven't read any of her books, way back when, in the 70s and the 80s, when she was really pontificating about the use of data and creativity, right? she basically could be standing here today, and I thought it was kind of weird that I was reading her obituary and I was coming to speak to you. Because if you haven't read any of her books, she had the vision of taking the relationship of data, learning, and imagination, and how absolutely imperative it was for young people being educated to think this way. This is no different, thinking from the 70s, than what we're demanding right now of our people in this industry, is to think in a convergent, agile manner. And you can't do it without data. You cannot do it without data, right? So I just, as a leave behind for you, I encourage you to Google her, look at some of her books. She has some fabulous insights into learning. And the reason why I'm kind of very, very aligned with Columbia Teachers College, I have a dear friend whose name is Dr. Ruth Westheimer. She teaches a class at Columbia University in the Teachers College called The Relationship of Technology and Media to the Human Being. And I've been a guest lecturer at her class a couple times. Young people getting into the business of teaching our future in this country, right, are so influenced by data, technology, and media. And it really has an impact on human relationships. And so as I come full circle to the beginning of my presentation, and when I talked about Gail and the power of one individual like Maxine and like Gail can change the conversation, can change the perspective, and change the outcome. So I thank you, Gail, for this opportunity. Convergent Agility, that's Lori Hiltz's interpretation. I wanted to be partying with the software developers in Snowbird, but I was a little early, right? But I